This
Very good
conference
morning
will
to
now be
my dear
recorded.
students. I am Dr. Ganesh Chandra Saurabh, Assistant Professor of Department of Medicine. Today, I will discuss regarding the disease of the thyroid glands. First of all, anatomy of the thyroid glands. This is the largest gland, endocrine gland of the body. It usually lies anterior to the larynx and trachea and just below the laryngeal prominence of the thyroid cartilage. It consists of a narrow isthmus in the midline, just anterior to the second fourth tracheal rings and 1.5 centimeter size. And there is two larger lobes, which is connected by the isthmus. Although position of the larynx varies, but the thyroid gland is almost always about 4 centimeters below the larynx. The physiological background: thyroid gland is endocrine gland which secretes thyroid hormone, which is essential for the body. There are two thyroid hormones, thyroxine and thyroxine, and this will be produced by the influence of the pituitary gland when thyroid hormone is decreased or increased. The examination protocol of the thyroid gland usually four steps. The clinical examination consistent with inspection, palpation, percussion, as well as auscultations. So first of all, inspection of the thyroid gland. If you examine the neck or thyroid gland, initially examine from the front of the neck and then side of the neck, and decide whether swelling is localized or generalized. And if presence of swelling in front of the neck, usually goiter. That is, goiter means swelling of the thyroid gland. And then ask the patient to swallow and to take sips of water, and if there is any movement or not. A thyroid gland usually mobile but fixed by neoplastic infiltration and may not raise on swelling. And uh, note whether the inferior border is visible or not. A patient having thyroglossal cyst is a midline mass which can present at any age, and characteristically it arises when the patient protrude the tongue. Now, inspection any scar mark or any redness or any prominent veins. If you will see any prominent vein over the neck and as well as chest wall by feeling of the external jugular vein, suggest retrosternal extension of the goiter, usually occur due to thoracic inlet obstruction. Now, palpation of the thyroid gland. There is two prospect of palpation. First of all, from behind, then anterior. From behind, palpation start from behind, and when but on the patient first. Place the both hands with palms of the fingers over the gland, and the neck should be slightly flexed as they as to relax the sternocleidomastoid muscles. Feel systematically both lobes as well as isthmus. Feel one side at a time and use one hand to steady the gland to palpate the other lobe. What are the points to be noted during palpation of a gland or any organ? Size, shape, consistency, tenderness, mobility, location, etc. So initially size only can approximate estimate is possible. Feel particularly for a lower border which its absence suggests retrosternal extension. If you will not get lower border, if think I will think there may be possibility of retrosternal extension. And shape of the thyroid gland usually uniformly enlarged or irregular, and whether its mass is affected or not. If a nodule that feels distinct from remaining thyroid tissue is palpable, then you will consider location, size, consistency, tenderness, as well as mobility. Consistency, this may vary in different parts of the gland. Usually, swelling of the thyroid gland in puberty or a normal person, this will be firm in consistency, but uh, other condition, maybe rubbery heart, usually Hashimoto thyroiditis, or stony heart, usually suggest carcinoma or calcification of the cyst or fibrosis. If patient having tender thyroid is suggest thyroiditis, maybe subacute or suppurative thyroid disease, or sometimes bleeding in the cyst or carcinoma. And mobility, if thyroid gland is mobile or not, and if there is any thrill means palpable murmur, palpable heart sound. So it is present, usually indicate patient is metabolically active or hyper function of the thyroid gland that is produce thyrotoxicosis. After examination of the patient from behind, then repeat the examination while the patient is shallow, and as well as you'll examine the cervical gland. After completion of the examination from behind, then you will examine the patient from front in the same procedure. Percussion, to detect any rectitudinal extension or not, usually upper part of the mammograph sternum can be percussed from one side to another, and you will observe if there is pattern of percussion node from resonance to dull. It indicate resonant rectitudinal extension of the goiter. Then auscultation. Auscultation of the over the lobe, usually you will get bruit, which indicate hyperfunction of the thyroid gland due to increased blood supply to the thyroid gland. Sometimes occasionally anti-thyroid drugs, and you will differentiate if there is a presence of any carotid bruit or venous hump. If you will auscultate the thyroid gland first, you will observe any thyroid bruit, then differentiate in these bruits, differentiate carotid bruit or venous hump. Or sometimes external extension may compress the thyroid gland and produce stridor. What is Pemberton sign? It is very, very important if patient having any retroexternal extension of thyroid gland or any retroexternal mass that compress the venous uh, vessels that leads to difficult in venous return to the heart. So how will you elicit Pemberton sign? Initially, you ask the patient to lift both arms as high as possible. Then you will observe the face. If their face is initially signs for congestion, plethora or cyanosis. In the picture shows left side, picture A is the normal patient. When this patient examine, he will develop plethoric phase, cyanosis, as well as distant veins of the upper chest and as well as face. It indicate this patient having rectitudinal extension, maybe thyroid gland, maybe other mass such as bronchial carcinoma, lymphoma, or secondary metastasis that involve the upper mediastinum, which compress the venous return that produce positive Pemberton sign. This is the features of Graves' disease. This is the most important features. I will discuss later on, steps by steps. These are the features of thyroid swelling. There are different type of thyroid swelling, maybe single nodule, maybe multiple nodule, or diffuse swelling. This patient having shows multinodular swelling because there is no involvement of this mass. This patient have is diffuse swelling of the goiter. Diffuse swelling. This patient also have diffuse swelling of thyroid gland. This patient seems to be redness about the thyroid gland, suggest maybe subacute or tangent thyroiditis or Hashimoto thyroiditis. So now let us discuss what are the causes of thyroid enlargement. There are three causes of thyroid swelling. It may be diffuse goiter, maybe multinodular, maybe solitary nodule. So what are the possibilities of diffuse goiter? Maybe simple goiter, a young female patient, maybe simple goiter, or maybe Hashimoto's thyroiditis or Graves' disease, or sometimes dark. But in endemic region, maybe iodine deficiency. Sometimes transient swelling, supportive thyroiditis, tangent thyroiditis, dyshomogeneity, etc. Maybe multinodular goiter or solitary nodule, maybe cystic solitary nodule, maybe hyperplastic nodule or follicular adenoma or different type of carcinoma of the thyroid gland. Now I will discuss the disorder of the thyroid gland. You know there are two types of endocrine disorder, maybe hyperfunction, maybe hypofunction, sometimes resistance syndrome. Gland is normal. So in case of thyroid gland, which is most common endocrine disorder after diabetes mellitus all over the world. In that scenario, hypothyroidism as well hyperthyroidism. So what is hypothyroidism? Hypo means low function or inadequate function or incomplete absence of function of the thyroid gland that produce different symptom and sign of the multiple organ systems of the body. So this is the commonest condition, a most commonest cause of hypothyroidism, autoimmune thyroiditis, that is called Hashimoto's thyroiditis. And second commonest cause after surgical treatment of the thyroid disorder or radioiodine therapy. But in our country prospect or those areas is iodine deficiency is more important, more common. In that area, iodine deficiency is the most commonest cause. And this is the disease of the female, usually 6 times more common in female than male. There are a lot of causes of hypothyroidism. Commonest cause is autoimmune, that is Hashimoto thyroiditis, or spontaneous atrophic hypothyroidism, or patient gives disease with TSH receptor blocking antibodies. Initially, patient having hyperfunction and subsequently develop hypofunction of patient of Graves' disease. And iatrogenic, maybe radioactive iodine, maybe operation, maybe drugs. And sometimes iodine deficiency, sometimes transient thyroiditis or congenital or secondary hypothyroidism, maybe disease of the pituitary gland. So signs symptoms of the hypothyroidism. Hypothyroidism is a multi pull systems multi-system disorder. Patient is hypothyroidism. Most commonest complainer weight gain. Patient is depressed attitude, constipation, cold intolerance. Patient uh, complain he took normal diet, but her or his weight is gradually increasing and he cannot tolerate cold, and his bowel is infrequent. He feels constipation and other symptoms, change of voice, and female patient initially complain menorrhagia but subsequently may develop oligomenorrhea or amenorrhea. When you will examine the patient, you feel patient is depressed attitude, puffy face, cold peripheries, hair loss, and in cardiovascular examination you will get a patient having bradycardia, hypertension, usually diastolic blood pressure is raised, patient is peripheral edema. This peripheral edema is usually non-pitting peripheral edema. Sometimes asked in clinical examination or viva examination, what are the most common causes of bilateral non-pitting edema? The commonest cause is hypothyroidism, the myxedema or lymphatic obstruction in congenitally lymphatic obstruction, and there is delayed tendon reflexes. You will examine the plantar response or knee jerk or all the deep reflexes. You will get delayed relaxation of the reflexes. And patient may develop carpal syndrome or serous cavity effusion. That means patient may present with pericardial effusion, pleural effusion, as well as ascites. So you will take history properly from this patient, and she will give you the clue which types of thyroid disorder he or she may develop. What are the investigations? The commonest investigations of the hypothyroidism or thyroid disorder. First of all, number one is thyroid function test that include free thyroid hormone free T3, free T4, and TSH. This is the commonest uh, investigation. What are the findings you will get in case of hypothyroidism? There are thyroid stimulating hormone will be raised and free T3, T4 will be reduced, and thyroid antibodies may be positive. Usually more than 90% patient is positive in Hashimoto thyroiditis or spontaneous atrophic hypothyroidism. And some non-specific investigation from the hypothyroidism, such as serum enzyme, raised creatine kinase, aspartate aminotransferase, lactate dehydrogenase, and if this patient having secondary hypercholesterolemia, and this patient develop different type of morphological anemia. Patient may be a normocytic normochromic anemia as a disease of chronic disease, or patient macrocytic anemia may be other autoimmune disease may be associated, or patient having macrocytic anemia because in case of female patient there is a loss of blood through menstruation, and patient have developed electrolyte imbalance, hyponatremia. That means dilutional hyponatremia. That is another term is euvolemic hyponatremia. If you will examine the ECG, you will get low voltage ECG or bradycardia. By the chest X-ray, you will get normal or maybe cardiomegaly. Cardiomegaly may be due to hypertension or maybe pericardial effusion. And as well as patient will thyroid ultrasound or scanning, you will get different morphological structure of the thyroid gland. Now, treatment option management. How we will manage the patient of hypothyroidism? This is the very important. This is the one of the drug all over the world is levothyroxine. So, any endocrine disorder, treatment is replacement. A patient having deficiency, so replace the drug from outside, or a patient increase, block the drug by outside. So drug of choice is levothyroxine. Usually there is no clinical dose schedule, but it is customary to start with the low dose of levothyroxine is initially 50 microgram per day for 3 weeks, and followed by 100 microgram another 3 weeks, and then maintenance dose 100 to 150 microgram per day. But if patient having younger patient, usually it is safe to start initiate levothyroxine higher dose is 100 microgram per day to allow rapid normalization of the thyroid hormone levels. But if patient is ischemic heart disease or elderly patient, usually start low dose of levothyroxine. And how will you follow? Usually, levothyroxine has a half-life of 7 days, so should be always taken as a single daily dose, and at least 6 weeks should pass before repeating thyroid function test. Because as a TSS takes several weeks to reach a steady state and adjusting dose. And patient usually feel better within 2 to 3 weeks, and if subsequent follow-up patient reduction of weight, periorbital puffiness occurs quickly, but restoration of skin and hair texture and resolution of any effusion may take 3 to 6 months. Most patients do not require specialist review but will need lifelong levothyroxine therapy. And the dose of levothyroxine should be adjusted to maintain serum TSH within reference range. And to achieve this, serum T4 often need to be in the upper part of the reference range, because T3 required for receptor activation is derived exclusively from conversion of T4 within the target tissue without the usual contribution from the thyroid secretion. And it is very important to measure thyroid function every 1 to 2 years once the dose of levothyroxine is established, and this encourages adherence therapy and allow adjustment for variable underlying thyroid activity and other changes in levothyroxine requirement. So dear students, there are some asymptomatic abnormal thyroid function test. Asymptomatic abnormal thyroid function. So there are three clinical patterns: subclinical thyrotoxicosis, subclinical hypothyroidism, and non-thyroidal illness. Today I will discuss in subclinical hypothyroidism. What is subclinical hypothyroidism? You means subclinical. There is no clinical manifestation of thyroid disorder. So what is this? This is means biochemical evidence of thyroid hormone deficiency in patients who have few or no apparent clinical features of hypothyroidism, usually diagnosed by thyroid function test. In that case, TSH is raised, but serum T3 and T4 concentration at the lower end of the reference range. At the lower end of the reference range, and this patient may persist for many years, although there is a risk of progression to overt thyroid failure, particularly if antibodies to thyroid peroxidase are present or if the TSH rises above 10 macromillimole per liters. So this patient is very important to follow up or treatment. There is no universal accepted recommendation for the management of subclinical hypothyroidism, but drug is the same. Levothyroxine is recommended. How will give levothyroxine and when you will give and who are the candidate for levothyroxine? There are three or four conditions. If patient wishes to conceive or is pregnant, or patient is TSS level is more than 10, or patient TSS levels are below 10, but patient have suggestive symptoms of hypothyroidism or positive TP antibodies or any evidence of heart disease. So it is important to confirm that any elevation of thyroid stimulating hormone is sustained over a 3 months period before treatment is given. Okay. And treatment is administered by starting the low dose levothyroxine, usually 25 to 50 microgram per day, with the goal of normalizing thyroid stimulating hormone. If levothyroxine is not given, thyroid function should be evaluated annually. So it is very important because subclinical hypothyroidism patient may develop overt thyroid failure, overt hypothyroidism. So it is very important to follow up if he or she needed treatment or not. Now I will discuss the hyperthyroidism, hyperfunction of the thyroid gland. So students sometimes asked in examination what is thyrotoxicosis, what is hyperthyroidism. So thyrotoxicosis means toxic features of this patient due to increased level of thyroid hormone level. So patient having toxic features of the body due to increased level of thyroid hormone level, increased level of thyroid hormone. How thyroid level increase? When hyperfunction of the thyroid gland, hyperfunction of the thyroid gland that produce increased thyroid hormone as well as toxic features, that is called hyperthyroidism. So thyrotoxicosis and hyperthyroidism are not synonymous. So thyrotoxicosis means state of thyroid hormone excess and hyperthyroidism means result of excessive thyroid function. There's a lot of causes of thyrotoxicosis, but major etiology of thyrotoxicosis are hyperthyroidism caused by number one, Graves' disease, number two, multinodular goiter, usually toxic multinodular goiter, and number three, toxic adenoma. These three are more than 96 to 97% of the thyroid toxicosis that cause hyperfunction of the thyroid gland. So it is very, very important. What are the causes? I already mentioned top three causes are most important causes of thyrotoxicosis, but other causes may be important and remain subacute or decorbon thyroiditis or postpartum thyroiditis. This is a transient thyroid elevation of thyroid function or drug-induced amiodarone or radiographic contrast media or iodine supplementation program. Extrathyroidal source of thyroid hormone, usually factitious thyrotoxicosis and stromal and thyroid stimulating hormone induced, that is secreting pituitary adenoma or carcinoma and hereditary mole, and follicular carcinoma plus minus metastasis, follicular carcinoma of thyroid gland having metastasis or not. These are the causes, commonest causes of thyrotoxicosis. Now, the clinical features of thyrotoxicosis, there's a lot of symptoms, but most common symptoms of patient present to you with heat intolerance, weight loss, increased appetite, diarrhea, palpitation, etc. Patient complain he or she take normal or increased appetite, but weight gradually lost, heat intolerance, sweating, palpitation and tremor. Sometimes patient is fatigue, irritability and emotional liability. Or sometimes patient presents with chronic diarrhea, bilateral leg edema, muscle weakness or pruritus or hair loss, etc. And when examine the patient, you will get palpitation, you will get in tachycardia or irregular pulse, that is atrial fibrillation, systolic hypertension, Patient may present with cardiac failure. Huh? Patient with hyperreflexia or ill-sustained clonus, proximal myopathy, etc. So it is very important. In practical examination, different examiner asked you what are the hand signs of Graves' disease. So what are the hand signs? You will tell there is on inspection of the hand, as usual protocol inspection, palpation, percussion, auscultation, inspection of the hands. You will see there is palmar erythema, there is a thyroid acroplasy, there is patient having sweating, excessive sweating, patient having fine tremor, patient having sinus tachycardia or atrial fibrillation or high volume pulse, etc. Or examine the blood pressure, you will get systemic hypertension. Usually systolic blood pressure is uh, raised. And when examine the leg, a patient of hyperthyroidism, patient of hyperthyroidism, you will ask to examine the lower limbs in this patient. You will get usually there may be patient having pretibial myxedema, maybe unilateral, maybe bilateral. Patient you will give hair loss, or patient you will give clubbing, that is called thyroid ectoplasy, or patient having maybe bilateral pitting edema due to heart failure or thyroid tachycardia induced cardiomyopathy or hypersystemic hypertension or ischemic heart disease or atrial fibrillation. Lot of causes of heart failure for hyperthyroidism. So when asked what are the causes of leg edema in thyroidoxicosis, your answer may be cardiac failure due to atrial fibrillation, maybe systemic hypertension, maybe tachycardia induced cardiomyopathy, or maybe as a ischemic heart disease. So it is very important for you the thyrotoxicosis, the different presentation and different findings. What are the then I will discuss the uh, clinical manifestation clinical manifestation depends on usually severity of thyrotoxicosis, duration of disease, and individual susceptibility to excess thyroid hormone and patient needs. So it is very important. And previous slide I mentioned different clinical presentation, but you will not get all patient these types of clinical presentation, but you remind the heart clinical manifestations and the heat intolerance, weight loss, diarrhea, palpitation, etc. An elderly patient usually present with apathic thyrotoxicity. That means patient absence of presentation, absence of symptoms. It is atypical presentation. Elderly patient may be subtle or mass, and patient may present mainly with fatigue or weight loss. This is apathetic presentation, apathetic thyrotoxicosis. So this is the features of Graves' disease. Sometimes asked what are the cardinal features of Graves' disease. Graves' thyrotoxicosis in a patient having Graves' ophthalmopathy. Huh? Graves' ophthalmopathy. That is patient having lid retraction, periorbital edema, conjunctival injection, and proptosis are marked. In case of B, patient have thyroid dermopathy over the lateral septum is seen, usually bilateral thyroid dermopathy. C, patient having thyroid acroplasy, that means clubbing involving both hands and feet. And number 4, diffuse goiter with bruit. Number 5, positive thyroid receptor antibodies. So these 5 are the features of Graves' disease. If we asked any examination, what are the features of Graves' disease? You always mention these 5 are the features of Graves' disease. You will not get all patients these 5 features, but you always mention these are the features of Graves' disease. So this is very important for practical examination, clinical examination, OSCE examinations. This is the bilateral ophthalmopathy in a 42 years old man. A patient usually complain diplopia in all direction and reduced visual acuity, and patient only periorbital swelling due to retrobulbar fat prolapsing into eyelids and increased interstitial fluid as a result of raised intraorbital pressure. And below is CT scan of the orbit showing enlarged extraocular muscle. This is the most obvious at the apex of the orbit. Huh? where compression of the nerve caused reduced visual acuity. So I'll discuss Graves' ophthalmopathy. Sometimes you will face in the short case or patient long case or OSPE. Usually lead detection causing a staring appearance can occur in any form of thyroidoxidosis. Lead detection occur any form of thyroidoxidosis, but usually this occur the result of sympathetic overactivity. However, Graves' disease is specific eye signs that compromise Graves' ophthalmopathy. Which is this? Sometimes thyroid associated ophthalmopathy may occur in the absence of hyperthyroidism, 10% patients. So more sometimes 10% patient is Graves' ophthalmopathy before the development of hyperthyroidism. And most of the individual have autoimmune hypothyroidism or thyroid antibodies. The onset of Graves' ophthalmopathy occurs within the year before or after the diagnosis of thyroidosis in more than 75% patients, and sometimes can precede or follow thyroidosis by several years, accounting for some cases of euthyroid ophthalmopathy. Unilateral signs are found in up to 10% of the patients. So, what are the earliest manifestation of ophthalmopathy? Usually, sensation of grittiness, eye discomfort, and excessive tearing. And about one third of the patient have proptosis, best detected by visualization sclera between the lower part of the iris and lower eyelid, and with the eyes is primary position. That means uh, this one. This picture typically shows Graves' ophthalmopathy. Typically shows proptosis. So in severe cases, proptosis may cause corneal exposure and damage, and especially if lids fail to close during sleep, and patients subsequently develop periorbital edema, scleral injection, and chemosis. And 10 to 15% patient develop diplopia, typically but not exclusively. And the final stage, this is the serious complication of the optic nerve compression that lead to optic neuropathy as well as papilledema, and patient having blindness if not treated properly. What are the treatments of Graves' ophthalmopathy? The majority of patients require no treatment other than reassurance, but the subsequent steps are we follow smoking cessation is the should be actively encouraged, and methyl cellulose eye drops and gel counter the gritty discomfort of the dry eyes, and tinted glass or side shield attached to spectacles reduce the excessive lacrimation triggered by sun or wind. And mild Graves' ophthalmopathy, oral selenium 100 microgram twice daily for 6 months may improve quality of life. And more severe inflammatory episodes are treated by glucocorticosteroids and sometimes bilateral radiotherapy. And alternative therapy, immunosuppressive therapy is sometimes used. And the patient loss of visual acuity is an indication of urgent surgical decompression. But burnout disease, surgery to the extracellular muscle, and later eyelids may be improved, or the treatment of the choice of the Graves' ophthalmopathy. So, dear students, regarding thyroid dermopathy, the spectral presentation may present in OSPE examination. So, what are the sign you will get? What are the subsequent investigation or the treatment? It's the same. A patient having bilateral thyroid dermopathy usually occurs less than 5% of the patients, and almost always in the presence of moderate or severe ophthalmopathy. So, a patient having thyroid dermopathy, although most frequent over anterior lateral aspect of the leg, skin change can occur at other sites, particularly after trauma. Typical lesion is a non-inflamed. Number one, non-inflamed. Number two, indurated plaque with a deep pink or purple color. And number three, orange-like skin appearance. The lesion may be itchy with growth of coarse hair, and less commonly face and arms affected. Maybe nodular involvement can occur, and condition can rarely extend over the whole lower leg or foot, maybe making elephantiasis. Treatment rarely required, but severe cases topical glucose may be helpful. So in pictorial picture of thyroid dermopathy, these are the sign You will mention non-inflamed indurated plaque with deep pink or purple color, orange skin, maybe coarse hair, maybe nodular. In nature, what are the other features of thyroid disorder? We'll mention typical facial appearance, Graves' ophthalmopathy, and thyroid, diffuse thyroid swelling. What are the investigation or the same investigation already previously mentioned, and other investigation if you differentiate thyroid dermopathy other nodular swelling such as erythema nodosum or erythema induratum or other nodular swelling. So biopsy from this lesion sometimes differentiate this is thyroid dermopathy or other leg redness, other cause of leg redness. So what are the investigation? Thyroid function test already mentioned. What are the findings you will get in case of hyperfunction? So T3, T4 will be raised and TSS will be reduced. So your interpretation will be you always write in examination or to give answer in examination with interpretation. What are the interpretation of thyroid function test in Graves' disease in hyperthyroid state? TSS is decreased and T3, T4 will be increased. Okay. If patient is hyperthyroidism, then subsequent other investigation. If abnormal value are found, the test should be repeated and abnormality confirmed in view of likely need to prolong medical treatment or destructive therapy. So repeated treatment should be, investigation should be needed, serum T3, T4 elevated, but sometimes patient have a T3 thyroidoxy. In that cases, T3 thyroidoxis, you means T3 thyroidoxis. Do you understand? T3 thyroidoxis. That means only triiodothyroid hormone will be raised, but other hormone within the reference range, normal reference range, and TSS will be reduced. Serum TSS is undetectable in primary thyroidosis, already mentions, but sometimes raised in very rare syndrome, secondary thyroidosis caused by pituitary producing pituitary producing adenoma. TSS producing pituitary adenoma. And other investigation, thyroid scan, thyroid ultrasound, radioiodine uptake, and thyroid receptor antibodies, which is very important for diagnosis of Graves' disease. These are the investigation presentation of hyper hyperthyroidism. Already mentioned in the left side, features of Graves' disease already mentions. Diffuse goiter with Rui, ophthalmopathy, pretibule myxedema, and positive TSS receptor antibodies. So students, it is very important for you. What are the cardinal features of Graves' disease? And any other features of non-Graves' disease. Patient is recent history of recent pregnancy or recent surgery or neck pain or drug or palpable nodular or single solitary nodule and thyroid scintigraphy. Your investigation thyroid is a low uptake. The last left side is low uptake, or middle portion is thyroid toxic adenoma, and third one is toxic multinodular goiter, and number fourth is Graves' disease, diffuse swelling, diffuse intact of radioiodine or thyroid scan. Radioiodine diffuse intact. So this is diffuse uptake, that is finally confirmed by radioiodine uptake or thyroid scintigraphy by radioiodine therapy, radioiodine dye. That will gives clue your final diagnosis. The last right one is Graves' disease, diffuse uptake or multinodular or single nodule or low uptake thyroid disease. So it is very important. And some non-specific abnormalities are maybe present. Thyroid antibodies with ECG. What are the ECG findings of hyperthyroidism? Maybe sinus tachycardia, maybe atrial fibrillation, maybe supraventricular tachycardia, etc. A lot of from, or some serum enzyme, raised alanine aminotransferase, gamma glutamate transferase, and alkaline phosphatase from liver and bone. And this patient may also have hypercalcemia, hyperbilirubinemia, and sometimes glycosuria. So this is the non-specific investigation of thyroid hyperfunction of the thyroid glands. So what are the treatment option of the thyrotoxicosis? You will know three treatment option: medical, surgical, or radioiodine. So how will you give? Definite treatment of thyrotoxicosis depends on the underlying cause. So it depends on the underlying cause. Those are previously mentioned, maybe Graves' disease, maybe multinodal goiter, maybe single solitary nodule, or maybe drugs or tangent, etc. So depends on the underlying cause and may include oil drug, antithyroid drugs, or radioactive iodine or surgery. But otherwise, you will give some non-specific drugs to alleviate the other symptoms. Non-selective beta blocker, usually propranolol or nadolol, that will alleviate but not abolish symptom in the most patient within 24 to 48 hours. So beta blocker should not be used for long time because it is usually extremely useful short time. Those patients are waiting for consultation or following radioiodine therapy, and those patients having asthma, alternative therapy as a verapamil is the drug of choice. And verapamil is the drug of choice. হ্যাঁ, প্রবলেম হচ্ছে, বন্ধ হয়ে গেল কেন? So students, in the subsequent slide, uh, এখানে আসেন, আচ্ছা। So comparison of treatment for thyroid Graves' disease, usually antithyroid drugs. What are the antithyroid drugs usually used? There is a carbimazole, methimazole, or propylthiouracil, but in uh, and subtotal. Second option is subtotal thyroidectomy. Third option radioiodine therapy. So what are the candidate for antithyroid drugs? Usually first episode age is less than 40 years and but content is on breastfeeding. And what are the advice you will give? You will give advice to the patient after antithyroid drugs if any rash or any sore throat or neck pain, or patient having any jaundice, etc. Develop, you will come and notice the doctors what are the complaints. And most important disadvantage, more than 50% patient are relapse within 2 years after stopping the drugs. What are the candidates of subtotal thyroidectomy? Those patients large goiter or poor drug adherence, especially young patient. Recurrent thyroiditis after course of antithyroid drugs in young patient. But if patient is previous thyroid surgery or dependent voice, you should be avoid thyroidectomy. What are the complications? Four complications usually occur in subtotal thyroidectomy. Initial complications may be bleeding, primary, secondary hemorrhage, but in late complication, patient hypothyroidism. More than 25% patient develop hypothyroidism. Tangent hypocalcemia in 10% patient, and permanent hypothyroidism may develop 1% patient, and recurrent laryngeal nerve pulse 1 to 2% patient. And radioiodine therapy, age is more than 40, recurrence following surgery or medical treatment or other serious comorbid condition. In this patient, more than 40% the first year develop hypothyroidism, and 80% develop hypothyroidism after 15 years. So sometimes it is cautious regarding Graves' ophthalmopathy because it will aggravate the Graves' ophthalmopathy. Those patients are taking radioiodine therapy. So this is the all over of the thyroid disorders. So my dear students, why discussion for you? Because this thyroid disorder is the most common endocrine disorder after diabetes mellitus. You will faces in different examination as a short case, as a long case, or you will faces by OSPE examination from face, the thyroid phase, maybe hyperthyroid phase, maybe hypothyroid phase, maybe grapes, ophthalmopathy, maybe neck, maybe soiling, diffuse soiling or multilateral soiling or solitary nodule, leg, maybe peripheral edema or leg edema. By ECG, maybe patient present with atrial fibrillation or radioisotope, or sometimes scenario, patient 40 years female presented to you weight loss, heat intolerance, chronic diarrhea, okay, and written examination. So thyroid disorder is very important for you. Okay, so you will read more and more regarding thyroid disorder. Okay, thank you very much. Thanks to all. কি ইয়ে ছিল, লাইভে ছিল না রেকর্ডে? পেন ড্রাইভ কি দিছিলাম কি? না, পেন ড্রাইভ দিয়ে কতক্ষণ লাগছে লেকচার শেষে?